Vanishing Point begins in an airport not that far from here, at Chicago. The woman sets off the security alarm because she has a metal plate in her leg. While she is in the Perspex box waiting to be patted down, the child that she's travelling with, who's not allowed in the box with her, a man comes up to him and takes his hand and walks away with him. And she, of course, tries to stop this happening. But because airports are very unidirectional in their sense of security, she ends up on the ground, tasered, and the kid is nowhere to be seen. And the question then becomes, who's taken Jimmy? Why have they taken him? Where have they taken him? And in order to get the answer to that question, we have to go back into the history of Stephanie and Jimmy, because she's not his mum. She's the person who's been left literally holding the baby. That's what the substance of the book is. It's going back through the history of the story, telling how Stephanie, who is a ghostwriter, became involved with Jimmy's mother, who is a reality TV star. But set against that is the constant drumming of anxiety because Jimmy is missing. And we all know what happens to kids who get abducted. Or do we?
Who comes to you first? The character, the story, the environment, the issue?
The idea for the story comes first. The earliest stages, it's always story-driven. It's what is this story? And then I start to think, whose story is this? Who are these people? How did they get to be this way? What's their history? What's their past? What's their future? How are they going to interact with each other? What are they going to say to each other? All of those things then start to become, you know, the most important part. The story is kind of, as I say, it's the engine, it's the motor, but it's the characters that make it a book, that make it worth reading. I'm always interested. I'm interested in why people behave the way they behave. For me, the crime novel is a novel of character. But with the standalones, I've got much more freedom. I've got a real sort of, I've got a blank canvas. And so initially, I'll be thinking about how the story's going to work. Then I'll focus on the characters, pull that all together. And then I suppose I start thinking about the wider picture, where this fits into the world. And then the key point with the standalones that doesn't have so much resonance with the series novels is structure. I have to find a structure. I have to find a way to tell the story. And sometimes finding that way can take years. A previous book, Trick of the Dark, a standalone, I had the idea for the book on a weekend visit to my former college in Oxford, and I saw a wedding taking place in the grounds, and various things happened that triggered off a line of thought in my head. And by the end of the day, I knew that the best thing that could happen in this fictional world, my twisted, bitter world, was that the bridegroom should be dead by bedtime. And by the end of the weekend, I had the shape of the story. And it took me 12 years to find a way to tell that story.
How do you live with the darkness that you write about?
I am well aware of the darkness that is out there inside people's heads. And I am very grateful that it is a darkness that does not directly touch my life. But I can imagine it, and I can write about it in a way that exercises the muscles of my imagination. And that's partly because I've been doing this for a long time now. And I've learned quite a lot of craft, and I've got quite a lot of tools in my toolbox. And so it took me a while to develop the skills to write that edgily. But it was an area I wanted to explore, those kind of lives on the edge, people who are driven so far away from what the rest of us consider to be normal behavior.
My question for you is this, because you're talking about the private and the public. Your book explores the private and the public. But what do you think of how, whether we want to be celebrities, our every word, our every movement, and perhaps our every body part, if we're in the wrong place at the wrong time?
It would help if they've got to look at my body parts.
There seems to be no privacy.
Most people, like actors, like sports personalities, like politicians, they've had a while to build up to creating this image of themselves that they want to be the one that is consumed by the public. The new generation of reality celebs, if you like, they didn't have that practice, that media training, all of that stuff. So they come at it from a very raw point, a raw perspective. You need to keep a place inside yourself that's private, that is yours. Because when things go wrong, and things always go wrong, you need a place that is your safe place. And that safe place for me is the safe place I occupy with my family and my friends. If you open up, if you spill everything, you have nowhere to go when it gets bad. I don't think you can live every aspect of your life all the time in the eye of the publicity. I think it offers you nothing but to be stripped of your humanity ultimately. Because when we're exposed to everything, and when we have to turn everything into narrative, it actually becomes a form of dishonesty.
So we're here at Kobo, obviously, so now it's time for the big question. I want to know, where exactly do you think this whole ebook and traditional print form of media is going? Do you think that the book is going to die, a physical copy of the book? Where is that going?
I don't think that the book is going to die at all. I think what we've got here is an alternative delivery method of the reading matter. There are times when it's incredibly useful to have an e-reader, a lot of the time, because I travel a lot, so it's incredibly useful to me not to be lugging 14 books around in my suitcase. It actually allows me to take some clothes when I go away from home. And my friends do tell me that this is a definite improvement. When a new technology comes along, everybody freaks out. You know, I'm sure when they invented the printing press, when Gutenberg did his first Bible, they were all sitting around the fire in Iceland going, well, that's the end of the sagas then, eh? Yeah. We'll never be sitting around a fire again telling stories, will we, with a nice horn of ale? Oh no, that's all gone, all gone. Things have a way of finding their level, finding their customer base, and I think that's going to happen with the whole ebook phenomenon.
It's been wonderful having you.
Thank you, Val.